In this video, we will be looking at how to use a spreadsheet to track student progress when you're using proficiency scales. You'll notice along the bottom of the spreadsheet, there are lots of different tabs. These will help keep your outcomes separated and make it easier to enter the marks. Currently, we're in this first tab, which is called instructions. This is all of the instructions that you'll need to actually use this spreadsheet. But we're not going to focus here for now because I'm going to go through all of these steps along the way in this video. Our second tab is called course organization. This is the tab where you're going to enter all of the information about your particular class. So for example, you'll fill in your school name, the course code, and so on. There's a spot here called name of report, and this may change throughout the semester. So you may have a progress report or a midterm report or so on. So this is one spot that may change. To the right, we can enter titles for the names of our outcomes. I've entered 3 here. These are the first 3 from our grade 9 de-streamed math course. And to the right of that, you can see that we have weightings for each particular outcome. Currently, this is set up so that all of the outcomes are weighted equally, but you can adjust these numbers if you need to. To the left, we can enter the student names of our students in our class. But this is the first place where we need to be a little bit careful using our spreadsheet. Remember, this is a spreadsheet that we're using to try and mimic a markbook program, so it has some limitations. The big limitation in this case, is that it's not good at adding and subtracting students from our class. If we delete a student name or add in a new student, it's going to mess up some of the formulas that come later on in the spreadsheet. So we have to be really careful. My recommendation is that you wait a couple of weeks into the start of the semester before you put your class list into this. Now, of course, you may still have some changes after those 2 weeks. If that happens, my recommendation is that you just insert a student name at the very bottom of the list. Or if a student's been removed from your class, just leave them in there. It's not really going to make any difference. Just trying to make it as easy as possible for you. Now, let's just jump over to outcome 1 so you can see what it looks like to actually enter the marks. Notice at the top here, the title of the outcome has copied over, as has the weight of that outcome. So have the names of our students. So all of that's going to copy for you automatically. I've gone ahead and added in some titles for our assessments. I've got 4 assessments in this particular outcome. And underneath, I've already filled in some levels of achievement for our students. Remember, we're using our proficiency scale to determine all of the levels of achievements of our students. So we're careful to use that proficiency scale as we're making these decisions. This is created as a drop-down menu. So you can just click in here and then select the level that your student's working at. There's also options to add plus or minus in case that's helpful. Now you will notice that there isn't an overall outcome mark that's automatically calculated. And that was really intentional because different subject areas tend to handle this in different ways. Different courses will handle it in different ways. In some cases, though, it may be pretty straightforward. I created this first setup and it's developing in all 4 assessments. Developing is a 60 to 69% range. So this is a pretty clear cut 65% for that student. But notice our next student, it's already getting a little bit more complicated. And this is where an algorithm really doesn't work for determining a mark overall. In some cases, a course might be happy to look at it and say, oh, the final result is a proficient with a minus. So the bottom end of our proficiency level, that would be probably around a 72, maybe a 73. But that's not the same for all courses. In some courses, the stuff that was done earlier on in the unit might have been just as important as the work that was done towards the end. So again, that's why there's no formula there. It's important that we're using our professional judgment to come up with that decision. Remember, this is where all of the really good assessment happens within a particular outcome. This is what we like most about using a proficiency scale. Also recognizing, however, that using your professional judgment can be a challenge at times. If you have any questions about how to come up with a mark or you'd like a little bit of guidance, we have a file posted on the website called a logic guide. You might consider using that, and that'll help give you some ideas of how to use these different data points to determine an overall mark within an outcome. Now, the other thing that might happen, and I've left these blank for a reason, is sometimes we'll just have really strange data, things that we didn't expect to happen. So what if this student, for example, started slipping and the marks went down towards the end? Again, not what we would have expected. This would be really difficult for us to come up with a a mark based on the data that we see here. In a situation like this would be one of those times where you might want to consider doing a reassessment. And keep in mind, when I'm saying doing a reassessment, I'm not saying do the test again or do a big project again. I'm just saying it might be a good time to have a conversation with the student to try and determine what they really know, because the data that we've collected seems to be leading in different directions. That's a situation here where we probably need to do that. Now, I've already gone ahead and added some more data into outcome 2 and outcome 3, just so you can see it. I wanted you to notice that there's a note section here. You can fill in notes about your student. Only you'll see that as the teacher. This doesn't copy automatically to a student page. The other thing I wanted you to notice is right here for assessment 4, we didn't have any assessments here. So these were blanks. We only had 3 assessments in this particular outcome. I'm going to come back in a minute to show you how we're going to handle that, but I just wanted you to be aware of it now. Outcome 3 has also got some information in it. I've left the other ones blank, but this will give you the idea of how the spreadsheet's going to work. I'm going to jump over now to this page, overall student progress. Notice this has a lock on it. It's colored red. That's because this is a page where you shouldn't be doing any editing. Everything's copied here for you automatically. There's no information that you need to put in. But this is the page that summarizes each student and how well they're doing in each outcome. This is a particularly useful page when it comes time to upload marks into Aspen. So you can see a student's overall mark here to the right, can match with the names. Hopefully that's relatively easy to transfer. Now the other piece is we want to be able to print out a student report for each student and show how well they're doing in each of the outcomes. That's what these pages over here are for. We have a page for every single student created, and it's automatically filling in for you. So you don't need to do anything on these pages. Again, notice that it's colored red and it has a lock. Everything here is happening automatically. It's automatically copying the name, all of your course information. Remember, we said this was our midterm report, so it's copied that here. This was the overall mark for the student in the course. And what's really nice is it's showing the mark in each outcome. This is the part that we really like about outcome-based assessment, that students are getting such detailed information. We can also see what's happening within each outcome to see what assessments were actually taking place. Notice, as I mentioned, this second outcome says assessment 4 still, and nothing really happened there. So I'd really like that to disappear, but watch what happens if I try and delete it. If I click on that and I delete it, an error message pops up. Because as we said, we're not supposed to be editing anything in this page. So this is the warning that you're trying to change something that you shouldn't be. Instead, if you want that to be deleted, just go back to outcome 2, go to the heading, and delete it from here. Now that's gone. And when you go back to the student page, you'll see it's missing, making it a little bit more obvious that there wasn't actually an assessment there. The last piece that we need to be able to do is actually print this off. We can print all of the student pages at the same time, which is relatively nice. Go up to File, Print. And there's a few changes we need to make here. Notice we're on this current page and it's too big. It's going to copy onto it. It looks like actually 3 pages. So I'm going to make 2 changes. I'm going to change it to portrait mode. And instead, in the scale where it says fit to width, I'm going to say fit to page. That's going to mean that each report will print on its own page. At the top, it says print current sheet. That's not so good for us because it means we have to print every page one at a time. We're going to change that. Click on workbook instead. When we do that, it's now printing all of the pages, which is too much. We didn't need that. Instead, go into selection, unclick the pages that we don't need to print. Notice down here all of our students that are left. We can still print those pages. You do need to scroll to the bottom and click apply, but now it's going to print just your student pages for you. And that'll allow you to print all of your pages all in one go. I think that's the basics of what you need to know in order to use one of these spreadsheets. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions about using the spreadsheet or any other questions about outcome-based assessment in general, please contact the Secondary Program Department.